Don't leave me hanging. It's go time.
Hey everybody, this is Josh, and welcome to Game 2 in a best-of-3 series being played between WhiteRa, better known as WhiteRa. He is the red Protoss up here in the top right of Xel'Naga Caverns. He comes from Ukraine, and he is sponsored by Duckload.com. He is very well-known and loved since Brood War, and he is playing against Mr. Mao's Strelok for Game 2 in this best-of-3 series. Strelok did actually take the first game. He is also from Ukraine, and he is the blue Terran down here in the bottom left. So, we have a lovely PvT here on Xel'Naga Caverns. Could be a long game, could be a short game, I have no idea. We'll have to see what these players have in store for each other. Of course, in the first minute or three, probably won't be seeing anything too exciting, most likely just the very standard Protoss build and the very standard Terran build out of our respective players here. Both of them have played each other many, many times in both Brood War and StarCraft 2. They both play on the Russian server, and this best of 3 is actually being played for the round of 16 for the ASUS Winter 2011 live event somewhere. I'm not sure where it was hosted. I actually tried to do some research on this tournament and couldn't find really anything. Even the thread on teamliquid.net was only 10 posts long, and the only relevant link that actually had these replays on it was in Russian, so I had to switch to Google Chrome, use their little translate function, and try to find some information. Couldn't find where this was being hosted, couldn't find what the prize money was, but I did determine that it was a live event with some of the best Eastern European players of StarCraft 2 that exist, like WhiteRa, Demaga, Strelok, Bradokay, Bly, Cass, and more. These guys were all battling it out, the majority of them from Ukraine, some of them from the Russian Federation, and yeah, so we saw some awesome games, and I'm going to cast more of these replays, not just this best of 3 from the first round of the tournament, but also maybe something from the semifinals and finals as well. So WhiteRa got a little peek up there. He didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Strelok just now getting to the point where something different can happen. He could expand quickly. He could throw up another barracks. He could throw up a factory. I don't know what he's going to do. Possibly could invest in some kind of Banshee play, but WhiteRa, actually somewhat notorious for playing it safe in this matchup. He likes to get a single gateway, get that cybernetics core up, and then switch to a robotics facility very quickly so that he can get an observer out and block any of those Cloak Banshee shenanigans that Terran players like to do against him. So I will be actually surprised if he doesn't get a robotics facility very quickly. Of course, 4-gate on Xel'Naga Caverns is quite a strong strategy as well. There are a ton of great places to hide pylons near your opponent's base. Strelok is getting a look at pretty much everything in here, and it looks like WhiteRa is going to wait for him to actually get out of town before building his next tech choice, whether it's a second gateway or a robotics facility. He is throwing up a second gas there. And did you notice that scouting probe actually came back with a chunk of yellow minerals? He actually stopped at the high yield on the way home to deposit some minerals. I actually don't think I've ever seen that tactic, and now I'm wondering why I've never seen that tactic. That's awesome. He just got himself a little mineral bonus just by stopping off at the high yield there. And WhiteRa is surprising me here with his second and third gateways and not getting that very quick observer. So if Strelok knows, like I know, that WhiteRa is a big fan of that robotics facility and doesn't go for the Cloaked Banshees as a result, then WhiteRa just played a mind trick on him, a Jedi mind trick, a Ukrainian Jedi mind trick. Because if Strelok knows WhiteRa's reputation of getting an observer very quickly, or has watched a lot of his replays, he might think, okay, it's not even going to be worth my time to build a Banshee, when really, in this case, it would be, because he would probably kill a lot of workers if he did. Gateways number 2 and 3, not quite done yet. Warp Gate Tech will be done around the time that this third one finishes here. Let's look at the income tab just for a moment. We'll see WhiteRa is ahead 26 workers to 22, and that is solely a result of this wonderful skill that Nexi have called Chrono Boost, so it speeds up that probe production pretty quickly. Both players expanding, actually. WhiteRa dropping his Nexus right here at his natural, while Strelok is of course flipping his command center that's already finished over into an orbital command. And look at this, he's actually decreased the distance that it takes to mine gas by building it right next to his original orbital command. I don't think I've ever seen this tactic used either. That's awesome. It just decreases the distance a little bit, but the SCVs still take the same amount of time to actually mine the gas or harvest the gas. So I'm not sure what the benefit is per se, if there is one or not, but still interesting to see that this is the shorter path here to the second orbital command. Siege tank out now. Siege tech is being researched, so marine tank combination gonna be the choice for Strelok in this PVT right now on Xel'Naga Caverns. Robotics facility about halfway done now, so it would be too late to try any kind of cloaked Banshee shenanigans, as there are no starports anywhere for Strelok. He has not chosen to go for that tech route yet. Orbital Command now being dropped over at the natural expansion location. Second barracks being added on. No, second factory being added on. So Strelok going for a lot of tanks, potentially some Thors a little bit later on as well. We'll have to see. He could also be getting a couple of Hellions and pre-igniter right there. You see the upgrade going, so he'll have a nice little mineral dump. Marines are usually a good mineral dump, but look at this. WhiteRa's composition right now is entirely light units, so that pre-igniter is a great choice. And the Hellions are quick enough to actually scoot around force fields and things like that. But WhiteRa getting aggressive right now, drops that pylon, moves all the way into the natural here with his probe and gets totally sieged down and marined to death. But WhiteRa will continue the siege. He just saw those tanks already positioned. He just saw those bunkers filled with units, and it looks like he is gung-ho about it no matter what. So 68 supply against 55 here. The army value heavily favoring WhiteRa right now. Is he going to get in far enough to actually take out these tanks? It doesn't look like it. All these SCVs and mules actually being pulled to repair the siege tanks up. All these zealots and sentries just getting blasted to death. The mules and SCVs making a huge difference in this game, keeping that first siege tank alive long enough. And the bunkers do go down, but the insides have not all been emptied out by these zealots. Only 5 zealots now against a handful of Marines and a tank. Another tank comes out here. 2 Hellions pop out of that reactor factory. Pre-igniter's not done yet, but they are going to do a lot of damage to these zealots nonetheless. So WhiteRa strikes, does a little tiny bit of damage, maybe stops some harvesting time, maybe kills some SCVs, but really Strelok had a very, very nice defense there and actually managed to keep one of his original 2 tanks alive even. So WhiteRa moving in now with 3 Stalkers, forcing Strelok to pull away from this orbital command for now. There are some Hellions moving towards WhiteRa's base now, and that pre-igniter upgrade is done, so we're actually going to watch the Hellions if they continue to move up to the natural. But right now, we'll just see how much damage these Stalkers are able to do. Strelok does lift off his orbital command. It's not worth it to him right now to try and save this, as he doesn't really have any SCVs there to do any mining anyway. So we're going to leave WhiteRa's Stalkers here in the picture-in-picture and follow these 4 Hellions. They could actually do a lot of damage, as WhiteRa's army was essentially just wiped out, and they do take out a probe very quickly. They are going to make it all the way to the mineral line here in the main. WhiteRa not pulling probes at all, instead just warping in some Stalkers to try and shut down these Hellions. We see a lot of probes killed there. Oh my god, another huge blast right before that Hellion goes down. So WhiteRa actually could be in a deficit right now in workers, but actually no, he's got 38 to Strelok's 24, unless that count just hasn't updated yet, which sometimes does happen. Actually, it looks like it did update as it continues to climb. 40 harvesters for WhiteRa, 24 for Strelok, so WhiteRa still in a bit of an advantage. He's actually got a larger supply count overall as well. Strelok could actually even it up though here very soon with some more Blue Flame Hellions coming in here undefended. Lots of probes going down. Oh my goodness, huge blasts going from Strelok, scoring a lot of probe kills. Might even kill off some Zealots here with these Blue Flame Hellions as well. Actually not really going to score any Zealot kills, but he does scoot out of there with 1 remaining Hellion. So Strelok doing a bit of a counterattack there, actually evening up that count a little bit more. 32 harvesters now for WhiteRa. That was up to 41 just moments ago, and Strelok is not calling it quits just yet. He's just going to continue to make these Blue Flame Hellions, try and even up the worker count, keep WhiteRa the heck away from his base, and try to keep him pinned inside of his own base. Warp Prism is being made right now, though. There is actually a Colossus out already for WhiteRa as well. Does he have extended thermal lances? I'm not sure where that bay is. Here it is. Does not have extended thermal lances, but he does have a Colossus, and he does have a Warp Prism coming, which makes me wonder if he's going to combine those two or just do a more standard WhiteRa drop where he brings the Warp Prism into the enemy's main and just makes a couple of Zealots. Sometimes they're successful and kill a lot of SCVs, sometimes they're not successful at all. But we'll see here in a moment how he chooses to use this Warp Prism. A couple of Stalkers come over here to shoot these Hellions. I'm not sure if they're going to engage again. No, it looks like Strelok is just going to get out of there. And another 2 Hellions over here on the side just run right past that Zealot, and they're going to be able to score some more probe kills here. 2 more kills, 4 kills total, 5 kills. And 6 kills, and these Hellions are still alive. 7 probe kills for those Hellions, and 2 more are in the main right now trying to rack up even more kills. There goes another one, and this last Hellion will go down. So now the Harvester count is 30 for WhiteRa, 36 for Strelok. But check this out, WhiteRa is actually doing a Colossus drop right now. Let's watch his kill count as he will just continue to do laser swipes and actually be able to do a ton of damage here to the mineral line. There's no defense coming, it looks like, from Strelok. His army is totally out of position. All those Hellions and siege tanks trying to come back now. 7 kills for that Colossus just by himself, so WhiteRa has to be feeling pretty good about that. But now these Hellions are in here. They're not actually going to be able to kill off this Colossus before he roasts them all the way down. So 9 kills on that Colossus before being picked back up. Supply depot under fire right now. Could be nice to score a nice supply depot kill. Strelok bringing SCVs in here again. He could just move them all to the natural because they're not really doing much good right here with this Colossus here. And the siege tank finally sieges up and shoos that Colossus away. WhiteRa is actually moving in from the right side over here by this visibility blocker. Strelok, luckily, or very wisely, has placed a couple of supply depots over here so these stalkers cannot just waltz their way in, but on the other hand, he is going to lose a couple of supply depots because, once again, his units are out of position. WhiteRa forcing him to keep bouncing back and forth. We see him moving up again. It might actually take a shot or two at these turrets, or he might just chillax there. Now we see he is going to actually continue shooting up this cliff. Did he get extended thermal lances finished? Yes, he did. So we have stalkers just hanging out over here. Looks like WhiteRa is going to continue to do some Colossus Warp Prism Micro for the time being. He doesn't want to A-move those stalkers in because there are plenty of siege tanks here to be able to defend against that. I don't think WhiteRa would be able to benefit very much from moving those stalkers in, but he's going to continue this Colossus Micro and try to score some Hellion kills. Looks like he's not going to be successful with that. He does have a pylon very close to Strelok's natural still as well, so if he ever wanted to do a big push, he might actually be able to do it. But let's look at the income tab once again. Both players have just been killing workers relentlessly in this game, and they are both at around 43 or 44 harvesters each. Colossus versus Thor right there. Thor wins that when the Colossus has to be picked up in the Warp Prism because the Warp Prism is made of glass and the Thor has incredible ground-to-air range. So the glass Warp Prism just flying away now, keeping that Colossus alive. There's a Viking out now for Strelok as well, just to continue shooing them away. These Stalkers, it looked like they may have poked in there for a second, but didn't actually manage to do very much, so they're just going to rejoin the main army of WhiteRa, which consists primarily of Stalkers and Colossi right now. Immortal coming out, another robotics facility being built. We do have some destructible rocks being broken down by a couple of Colossi, and not much else going on. There is a forge coming up somewhere. I'm not sure if that's his first or second one. I think it is his first, as he's still sitting at 0-0 upgrades. Viking sitting at 0-0. Strelok's infantry at 0-0, but he's been building a lot of tanks. Look at his tank count right now. Let's look at the unit tab and see 9 tanks on the field right now, all with 1-0 upgrades. These Hellions and Thors, of course, are going to be able to benefit from those as well, and we know he has an armory because he has a Thor, so he can continue getting vehicle weapons level 2. There we see it in the production tab, and lots of vehicles being made out of how many factories now? 4 factories total. 3 tech labs and 1 reactor, so Hellions, tanks, and Thors all going to be available. Also, a reactored starport, so Vikings will be out very quickly to deal with these Colossi. WhiteRa is switching primarily into Immortal tech right now, and he's trying to expand here at his third. Looks like he might try to do some attacks up here on the side. The Colossus is actually going to provide vision for all these Stalkers and things, but when the Vikings come in, he's going to have to be very careful and shelter his Colossi. Look at this. That's a lot of damage coming, and it looks like we have a little bit of movement down in the natural as well, but I think that got shut down as well. So yeah, this last little zealot actually going to manage to kill off a supply depot just by himself, but also just explodes in red flame to that siege tank fire. So WhiteRa right now just bouncing around, trying to hit from different sides, trying to get this very immobile army from Strelok to actually commit to one side or the other so he can try and score some more kills. But WhiteRa has taken the worker advantage, 54 to 43 now. His army supply, though, is lacking. Strelok actually above him in supply and mineral value and gas value for this entire army. Is ahead in upgrades as well, as +1 is just about to finish for WhiteRa, +2 is about to finish for Strelok. And WhiteRa's way out of position right here. These Vikings are going to be able to possibly score some Colossi kills, and these siege tanks are getting vision all the way on the other side over here, thanks to these Vikings in the air blasting these Stalkers, trying to kill off the Vikings. So Strelok, great positioning there from that army. Thors, Vikings, and siege tanks, a very, very good unit composition, all of them benefiting from weapon upgrades, well, except the Vikings, but you get the idea. And Thors and Vikings moving in once again. It looks like he is actually going to pursue this army. WhiteRa is going to lose a Colossus very quickly to those Vikings. Vikings doing a ton of damage to these Colossi with their incredible range, and this is basically the bane of all Protoss players, getting those Vikings out and stopping those Colossi. Lots of Stalkers and Immortals usually do good damage against siege tanks, but not this number of siege tanks. Look how many he has here. 16 tanks. You never see tanks in this huge number like this. Vikings still in the air, taking out Colossi. They're not going to be able to do anything against these tanks. Thor in the mix as well with a single kill, and Strelok is going to start pushing. He realizes he has a huge army advantage now. He just killed off a lot of Colossi. He's sitting at 128 supply against WhiteRa's 83. Harvester count almost really doesn't even matter at this point, as this Nexus is about to go down. We see a Dark Shrine being built for WhiteRa, but with this enormous force here, I'm not sure if WhiteRa is going to actually be able to stay alive long enough. WhiteRa is starting to move now with his own forces, but I will continue to watch Strelok's forces. Go ahead and drop WhiteRa into the picture-in-picture so we can just see what's going on. And these tanks, I'm just really anxious to see how fast they power down these buildings of WhiteRa. Look at all those blasts going off. Holy crap. Even on the ramp, anything trying to come down the ramp just gets killed instantly. This Nexus being focused now by the power of, 15 tanks. So the Nexus explodes. Strelok realizes his main target has been eliminated. He's going to continue to move on. WhiteRa, on the other hand, actually doing a lot of damage to Strelok as well, forcing him to lift off from his natural, move back into his main. But Strelok looks like he's doing just fine. He's building turrets actually nearby WhiteRa's main. There are no fighting forces here, really. That Stalker goes down now, and the Dark Shrine is going to be focused down by all these tanks. Not even in siege mode. It doesn't even matter. They have higher DPS in their normal tank mode regardless, so they're going to power these buildings down incredibly quickly. Oh my goodness. So WhiteRa's not going to have any buildings left right here. You see him expanding over here to this sort of, what position is that? 3 o'clock position, I guess. But that's really not going to matter, as all his probes and tech and everything are just being destroyed. WhiteRa did manage to do a lot of damage in Strelok's base, though, still hoping for that base trade. It could actually, come down to who has the last command center / Nexus available. Strelok is floating his through the middle of the map. If you just glance at the minimap there, you'll see it's on the way to WhiteRa's natural area. Is Strelok just going to continue blasting these buildings down, or is he going to continue and just go back home to try and kill off WhiteRa's army? It looks like he's separating his armies right now, keeping these guys in siege mode to finish off these last remaining buildings. He is about to land his orbital command at the natural. He's actually sending another contingent of tanks, Vikings, and Thors over to this last remaining Nexus. I'm not sure if WhiteRa was ever revealed there, but it is the next logical spot for WhiteRa to go. So Strelok finds it, Strelok destroys it. WhiteRa pretty much on the ropes right now. He's actually rebuilding the Dark Shrine. Check that out. Look up there. He started rebuilding it way over here in the back. He's got a single gateway as well. Will he build any Dark Templar? I'm not sure if it'd be worth it at this point. And WhiteRa does GG. And Uda 4i, I can only imagine, is some sort of Ukrainian good luck in the rest of the tournament, well-wishing. So excellent, excellent game by Strelok, defending all those drops quite well, defending all that harassment, and WhiteRa just could not keep up with the massive amount of tanks and Thors and Hellions, losing a lot of workers throughout the game. Just didn't have the right composition to battle against this enormous amount of mech from Strelok. So I hope you guys enjoyed that game and that entire series. I'm going to be casting more from this ASUS Winter 2011 event. There'll be some games from one of my my favorite Zerg players in the world, Xel'Naga, so look forward to those as well, and I will I will see you guys soon. Some people may consider it a waste, but why not bolster your army, at least in the view of your opponent? There, Maro did have an Overseer, but it just got taken out extremely quickly